Alright, so the first thing you want to do when you open the template is to make a copy of it, so that you are the owner and you can simply edit the entire file. So just go into File and then make a copy. And if you're already logged into a Google account, you're able to edit anything. So you can now simply type inside the sheet. That's now fully yours. Okay, so I'm logged into an account. And then what you want to do next is to fill in these API keys. You can also change the username to your account. So in this case, it is getting the data from twitter.com/RubenPort. So that's my personal Twitter profile. To connect to a Twitter profile, you'll need these API keys, which you can get from developer.twitter.com. So if you have a Twitter account, you can go to developer.twitter.com, then open your apps and create an app. I already created one, so I'll use that. It's very simple. I can just briefly show you. You just have to fill in the name and the application description. This is a short description for your users. And then here in the bottom, you'll have to provide a slightly larger description on how you're going to use it. So I just put there to showcase this to you via tutorials. But you can say I'm using this for internal data collection purposes, and that should be fine. Just make sure it's a minimum of 100 characters. But I already have an app, so I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to use the tutorials one. And then on the second tab on the top, you already should be able to see your consumer API keys. So if we just copy paste these over into our copied file, paste them in there, and then paste these in there. So make sure you use your own and not these ones, because I'm going to regenerate these keys after this tutorial, so these won't work. Okay, so then type in your username in here, and then you can simply click Run Script. And then it's the case of whether you've already run the script before, it should work right away. If you haven't done it yet, it might, it will prompt an authorization request. So it's basically asking you to confirm that you would like to connect this file, which is now yours, to the script. So that's what we want to do. So we want to continue to sign into your account. Then you'll get this warning. This looks scary, but isn't. Just go into advanced and click go to Twitter profile, and then here is the official Google approval step. So simply click allow, and I'll explain the script in a minute to you so you exactly know what's going on in the background. So it's now running. After the authorization, the first time you run it, it should not work, but then the next time you click run script again, it will then indeed insert the data. The data that it's actually inserting is the followers, friends, favorites, and status. So favorites is likes and statuses is tweets, but that's simply the definitions that Twitter gave it to you. You can read up on those in the Twitter documentation. So let's just cancel this for now. This is running a bit long, and run it again. So now you can see it finished. Every time we click run script, it's basically adding one row. So let's do one more. Cool. So the way this works is that this button, so this is actually an image. If you do a right click on it, you can see that it is assigned to a script. So the get username info over time script. So if you ever want to tweak that script, or in this case, I think the most use you get from this script is to run it every day at the same time. So for instance, run it every day at midnight. So to do that, you go into Tools, then open the script editor. And this is where you see the script. So this is the same name. You can dismiss this message. I'll briefly explain the script, but if you're not interested in the code, the only thing you want to do then is to click this little stopwatch icon, which opens up the Twitter trigger dashboard. So what you can do is here add a trigger for the same function. So the function of the script, so the script name, get user name info over time. We want to run that every single day. So for instance, every day at midnight to 1 a.m. So if I now save this, Let's see, yes. So this will now run automatically every day. So you don't have to click this button every day. It will just automatically run, and you can then just simply create graphs in here or link this sheet to another sheet or copy the script over and place it in your data infrastructure. That's all fine, but that's how you can set up these recurring running. So I'm just gonna delete it for now because I'm having no use for it. But if you want to have a standalone script, then you can do. I already have this particular script incorporated in an overall data infrastructure. So the last thing I want to do is just explain to you how the script works. So the language here, this is Google Apps Script. So it's basically JavaScript with some function specific for Google Sheets or the Google Apps in general. So what the beginning here does, simply we're defining this, the sheet as the current active sheet. In this particular file, there's only one sheet, so that makes sense to do it that way. In other files, you might usually want to define it by the name of the sheet. And then we're simply getting the variables, the keys, API keys, and the username from cells B2 to B4. So those are these cells, so we're taking that input. So if you don't want to mess with the script, you don't have to hard code it in here. You can just insert it in the sheet itself. So that's all fine. In case you decide to delete the first row, so this is just linking back to Zebra Farm, but if you want to delete this first row, you can do it, but just make sure that you change these values as well in that case. So then here we have to authorize with the Twitter API. So this is a like a standard script to connect to the API and make sure that we get a special token that's uniquely assigned to us, so that we know what account is making these requests. If you're interested in learning more or doing it in a different way that is possible, you can simply go to this particular URL. Okay, so then we are authorized. We can make a fetch request to any of the API endpoints you can find in documentation. In this particular case, we're going to use the users API and simply to show it. So we just want to show the data from that API, and then we make a request, get all the data. You can see here, a get request. We fetch all the data from this URL and have the options. So the authorization token and the options, which is a GET request. Cool. So then we get the response. We just want to transform the response into JSON. So that's now parsed into JSON under the results variable. And then what we see as the results variable is basically one big array with all the data in there. What we then want to do is simply get the followers count from that data. So the result.followers count, that's what we want to get. Do the same for these other variables. And then we're basically done. The only thing we want to do is find the last row in the sheet. So if we do that now, we will find this row. This one add one, so that we can insert the data in there. +1, and then we, in this case, I opted for inserting it one by one. So the first column A, will get the date formatted like this, and then column B to E get these variables parsed into it. So if we then say get username in row of time and run this again, you'll see that the data now gets parsed in here. Cool. And if we then run it every day automatically, like we set up with the trigger, then this will be the 8th of August, the 9th, 10th, and so forth. Okay, if you're interested in getting more variables or different variables, you can go into, let's see if this works. I'm not entirely sure, api.twitter.com. Basically the Twitter documentation. So that doesn't work. So let's just find the Twitter documentation. Here we go. Accounts and users. Let's see, where's here's the API. Okay, authentication, we've done that. Get lists. Here we have get users. Here, this is the one we use. Get user/show. Exactly. Parameters, so these are the input parameters, and then we have a response. The user ID example request. But doesn't show all the variables I see here. Okay. So it shows these user objects. So these ones. So name, screen name, location, derived URLs, descriptions, and here we go, follower account. You can say if it's verified or not, especially if you do for multiple users. So you could tweak the script and say, okay, we want to run it iteratively over like a list of usernames. You can do that as well. Just let me know if you're interested in something like that. Create an ad when this user created account. Default profile name. Can do all kinds of crazy things. So as I said, you can change this as well. So I'm not doing it on myself, but let's say you do want to do it on Gary V and run the script there. Obviously he has way more followers, but you can see this works. Let's see if Joe Rogan has a Twitter profile. Yes. So you can tweak the script and do it for everything. So I think that's it for now. If you have any custom requests, do let me know. And if you have any questions on this particular tutorial or this particular script, also do leave a comment. And good luck.